Whereas substance use and mental health problems affect all communities nationwide, according to the 2015 National Survey on Drug Use and Health, an estimated 27.1 million Americans are current illicit drug users. Nearly 20.3% or 7.7 million young people report drinking alcohol in the past month, and 1 in 5 Americans ages 12 or older smoke cigarettes. Additionally, in 2015, 12.5 million Americans misused pain relievers, and for more than half of them, the last pain reliever they misused came from a friend or relative. Whereas, with commitment and support, these and other behavioral health issues can be prevented. The focus of National Substance Abuse Prevention Month this September is to prevent substance use and promote mental health. This year's National Substance Abuse Prevention Month theme, Making Each Day Count, recognizes the power each person has to influence the health and well-being of others by making prevention choices every day. Whether it's by supporting someone who's going through a difficult time, by participating in activities that strengthen the community, or by instilling healthy habits in children from an early age. Taking part in prevention-related activities and conversations help raise awareness of behavioral health issues and change lives. Whereas, that's a message we need to spread far and wide. An estimated 12.3 million people in America are classified with substance dependence or use of illicit drugs or alcohol, and about 44 million adults have a mental illness. The impact of substance use and mental illness is apparent in our local community. We have the power to change these numbers and, more importantly, change lives. Whereas, through National Substance Abuse Prevention Month, people have become more aware and are able to recognize the signs of mental health problems and substance use. Equally important, community members of all walks of life learn what they can do to make each day count by helping to prevent these problems. Whether it's by being a shoulder for someone to lean on, leading someone to get help for a behavioral health issue before it worsens, or setting an example by staying substance-free. We all have a role to play in keeping the people around us and ourselves healthy and safe. Whereas we and others across the United States need to recognize the seriousness of behavioral health issues in our communities, the power of prevention, and the tireless efforts of those working to make a difference. The small daily actions done by individuals combined with the actions of families, communities, and coalitions come together to make up the larger, bold movement of prevention. For the above reasons, I am asking the residents of the town of Emmitsburg to join me in observing National Substance Abuse Prevention Month this September 2017. Okay. Now, therefore, on the next page. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the mayor and council of the town of Emmitsburg, Maryland, do hereby proclaim September 2017 as National Substance Abuse Prevention Month, and do therefore call upon our community to observe this month with compelling programs and events that support this year's theme, Making Each Day Count. Okay. So, is there a motion from the board to adopt this proclamation or endorse this proclamation?
I'll make a motion to endorse this proclamation.
Very good. Thank you, sir. The motion's been made by Commissioner Blanchard. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
The motion's been seconded by Commissioner Sweeney. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Anyone against? Very good. The motion carries 5-0. Great. Okay, Mr. Mayor?
Very good.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Okay, moving forward, we now turn to consideration of approval of a 2017 Chevy Silverado.
Yes, thank you. The vehicle we're looking to replace is with the Water and Sewer Department. The vehicle currently used by the department is a 2003 GMC Sonoma with 110,000 miles on it. So the vehicle's over 14 years old. It is in very bad condition. The vehicle that we would like to replace it with, we did contact 4 dealerships to get comparable prices. However, we only received 2 uniform bids back from Criswell Chevrolet of Thurmont and Want Chevrolet. The other 2 wouldn't provide us with detailed bids. The new vehicle we're looking at is a 2017 Chevrolet Silverado 2500 HD 4-wheel drive regular cab, 133.6-inch work truck with a plow package. So the truck will have the snow plow on it because it is one of the trucks that we do use to plow the streets with when the snow hits, and if anything happens like they're saying, it's going to be a bad winter.
Right.
So we need the reliable truck with the snow plow. So the two prices came in fairly comparable. Criswell was at $48,633. Wance Chevrolet was at $46,996. And staff recommendation would be to go with the Wance Chevrolet bid for purchase.
I just have a question. Where is Wance? Where's it located?
Ponytown.
Tawnytown.
In Tawnytown. So like, can we go to Criswell and Thurmont and ask them to?
They will not. This is
Match?
their bottom dollar price. That's what it
I'd like
is.
to keep things local as much as possible.
We have been doing with and we did. We branched out and checked with Criswell as a local. Wance has been doing a lot of our work for a long period of time.
Any other questions?
I don't have my copy of my budget with me.
It comes as a cash. It's a cash purchase because it comes under the water and sewer budget. So it's a cash item that will be depreciated over the course of 10 years.
Okay.
But this purchase was anticipated, is that correct? Like
Yes.
it was budgeted for?
Yes.
So I believe it was.
Well,
So.
Unlike the Fund 1 and Fund 2, like Fund 2 has money that's specifically set aside for the purchase of a vehicle. This was for water and sewer. It is a purchase that we knew we would be making, and it was a highlighted item on the budget.
Okay.
But when it comes to the water sewer, it's called an enterprise fund.
Enterprise,
You don't.
that's it.
There's not a specific line item for a vehicle purchase. It's just a cash item. Cash comes in, cash goes out, and then it's depreciated.
Sure.
Are we trading our other vehicle in on this? Or are we selling it ourselves?
We will probably. I don't know. We haven't made a decision on it yet. We will probably sell it ourselves, like we did the last one, because we
You know,
got
there's
a
a-
better return on it.
There's a glass company looking for a beater truck that I'm aware of in
Really?
town. Yeah.
Let me know.
There's a glass company looking for a beater truck that I'm aware of. Oh, I'm sorry. Here we go. All right. Sorry, Mr. Sweeney. Go ahead. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, very good. Okay, any further questions for staff related to this item? No? Okay, hearing none. Does anybody have any concerns related to this purchase as recommended by staff?
No.
Okay, so therefore we'll take the vote. All in, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we replace the 2003 GMC Sonoma with the 2017 Chevrolet Silverado from Wance Chevrolet. Is that good?
Okay, that was
I'll
sufficient.
second the motion.
Sufficient? Okay, all right. The motion's been made by Commissioner Buckman. It's been seconded by Commissioner Blanchard. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries 5-0. Very good. Okay, moving forward. We turn to consent agenda. We have a resignation, 2 resignations to discuss, and 6 reappointments.
Correct. I believe, and then this would be information we got from the respective commissioners. I believe Commissioner Ritz, you advised our town clerk that Dwight Baumgartner would like to resign from the Parks and Rec Committee.
Yes.
Okay. And then from Commissioner Buckman, the resignation of Brandy Maloka from the Citizens Advisory Committee. And then, do you want to do your committee, Commissioner Ritz, or you want me to do it?
Consent.
What, just name them all? We have some individuals who were appointed in November of 2015 and therefore are up for their 2-year term is up, and we are looking to add these individuals for another 2-year term to the Parks and Rec Committee. The individuals in question are David Mays, Shannon Cole, Cynthia Canadas, Matt Myers, Jen Myers, and TJ Burns.
Very good. Okay. Is there, well, let's take this part 1 first. Do we need a vote to accept resignations, or do we just acknowledge resignations?
Just acknowledge.
Okay, so as a board, do we acknowledge the resignations of these 2 individuals?
Yes.
Very
Late,
good.
but yes.
Okay, sure, yes. Hate to lose committee members. And let's have a motion, if we could, to accept these members, to rather reappoint these 6 individuals for the Parks and Recreation Committee for a 2-year term. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to appoint the 6 individuals to serve on that committee.
Very good. Okay, is there a second for the motion?
I'll second.
Okay, the motion's been made by Commissioner Blanchard. It's been seconded by Commissioner Sweeney. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anybody against? Very good. The motion carries 5-0. Okay, and as a reminder, I did not call for discussion as this is a consent agenda item, so that's why we went right to vote. Okay, we now turn to the treasurer and the treasurer's report.
Yes, Mr. President. Town of Emmitsburg cash activity as of August 28th, 2017. Town of Emmitsburg cash activity, $5,051,996. Cash balance August 1st, 2017. $5,372,993. Operating balance forward. And as always, we have the top 10 check amounts, the vendor names, descriptions, check dates, etc.
Okay, any questions related to these check items? No, hearing none. Okay, thank you, sir.
Problem.
All right, moving forward, we now turn to the Planning Commission report. No, yes.
We didn't have a meeting last month.
Okay, no meeting? All right, very good. Okay, we now turn to our agenda items. First item, ordinances to amend Title 13 Public Services for consideration. Ms. Sipperly, Ms.
That's me.
Willis. Okay,
That's
very
me.
good, okay.
As you know, I brought these 3 ordinances and policy to you as the board at the August meeting, excuse me. At the August meeting for discussion, and we went through them. So I'll just highlight the changes, and then you can proceed how you like. Ordinance 17-05, the highlighted area basically talks about responsibility of the property owner if there is neglect or misuse, or your meter freezes, that it's the responsibility of the property owner to pay for the replacement of the meter. Now, if it stops working on its own accord, age, defect, and the town will continue to replace the meter. However, if it's property owner neglect or their guest, it would fall on the property owner to replace. Can we just keep going through them?
Do you guys want to take them one at a time? I mean, we did discuss these last time fairly extensively, but does anybody have any druthers on this, any preference? Okay,
I-
so, do we want to take a vote on this at this time?
I think we'll do the whole thing, no?
Take them as a collective?
I think so.
I
think we
mean,
need to-
I can go through them, but we'd need a vote for each one.
We need to
Oh,
vote
okay.
each one at a time, though,
Okay.
that's so, all right, so why don't you continue with the presentation, and then we will vote for each individually at the end of the presentation.
Okay.
So just a summary now, I guess, of 1706.
1706 is your, your sewer charges. And basically, this was, as we discussed, and it'll be the same thing in the water section, that we wanted to make a consistent due date of the 5th of the respective months when they're due, which would be the February, May, August, and November, to help those that are on a fixed income or receive monthly checks, because some months the due date is the 2nd and they're not receiving their checks. And people like to know what day their bills are due, so we wanted to make it a consistent thing that your water bill is due of that respective month on the 5th. If the 5th falls on a holiday or a weekend, it's due the following business day. And that's basically the changes in that. That's the only change to that one, other than it was brought in line with Maryland, in accordance with Maryland law, and brought in line to the water section, so they kind of mirrored each other. Ordinance 17-07, we eliminated the section on the collection of charges, and as I mentioned the last meeting, these were all reviewed by John Clapp. John Clapp wrote most of them and made sure they were in accordance with Maryland law. So this section of the collection of charges, basically, again, the section talks about the 5th of the month, setting the due date for your water bills. It talks about that water service is billed to the property owner of the service. And then section D highlights where and how you can pay your bill, because nowhere is that outlined for people to know. So we wanted to add that section into the ordinance of how you can actually pay your water bill. And so that's that section, or that ordinance, excuse me. And then policy 17-03 was the water and sewer main and system maintenance policy. The water lines, this section, this didn't change. It's always been the town will be responsible for the water lines from the curb box to the main line, and the property owner is responsible for the curb box to the structure. We added the section, if the curb box has been damaged through neglect or misuse, it'll be the responsibility of the property owner to repair or replace, and the town staff will inspect the replacement to make sure that the connection is proper. For the sewer lines, we made it uniform. As if you recall from that meeting, 2 sections of town were done differently when it came to the sewer responsibility. Working with staff, we wanted to make it uniform and fair. One section of town, that was from the curb box to the structure. The other section of the town was the property line to the structure. In parts, and especially in the historic area, the older section of town, your sewer clean out may be out in the street. And how, the staff doesn't feel comfortable with you going out there and tearing up the street. So we wanted to make it uniform, not only for the property owner to know, but for staff to know when they go out and fix things. Everything on the sewer, your sewer clean out, the property owner is responsible for the sewer clean out to the main line, from the property line. Let me step back, getting ahead of myself. The property owner will be responsible for the property line to the structure. And the town will be responsible from the property line to the main line. Okay? So, and then we added the section on the sewer cleanout, just like with the curb box. If it's damaged through neglect or misuse, whack it off with your lawnmower, which is what we see a lot of. It's your responsibility to repair or replace, and the town will inspect. And the only thing that the town, all clogs occurring from the property line to the building will require the homeowner to contact a plumber. So if you have a clog in your line, you need to contact a plumber, and the clog is not part of the town's repair or replacement unless it's found outside of your property line. And that's that policy.
Okay, regarding that last one, to clarify.
If it's,
Well, let me just ask a
ahead.
question. So, in that circumstance, then, the waste line coming from the house is clogged beyond the property line, then the town is responsible for it on, let's call it, the town side of the property line.
Unless, if you read this, unless it's determined the homeowner's misuse or neglect.
Okay.
And 9 times out of 10, your homeowner's calling a plumber,
Okay.
and then the plumber's calling the town, so both will be on site. Through neglect or misuse, you've dumped a ton of grease down your sink, you've stuffed things down your toilet, you've
Okay.
added things to the sewer system. On your property line, a tree goes through the line, a branch goes through the line. Those are your typical causes
Sure,
of clogs.
Okay.
How about if the tree goes, there's roots in it from, not any existing tree off the line, off the property line?
I mean, the
Tree
tree's
doesn't
been
belong to
removed?
you,
Yeah, the tree's no longer there.
Far-reaching
it's
roots.
still on your property.
Yeah,
line.
because
It's
the
still on your
roots,
property.
Or if it's far-reaching roots from
Yeah,
another
there's a
property.
lot of roots. Most of the tree will grow towards where there's water out, and
Right,
and there's a lot of
but it's
towns.
still on your property line?
No, off the property line.
Off the property line. I mean, that's a case-by-case scenario. We're talking general clogs. I mean, there's certain things that, we could, what if diapers being shoved down a toilet, I mean, things like that, are most of the clogs,
Okay.
okay?
Very good.
Well, the only reason why I asked, because we had a couple residents here in the past few years had to pay from clear to the middle of the road,
Yeah.
and then had the money for it. We made them do it anyway. So
Okay, so
That will
this-
segue into your, possible second meeting in October.
yes,
Correct.
I
Okay.
agree.
Okay. All right, so we've heard about each of these ordinances related to wastewater and water supply.
Right, your water and sewer lines, yes.
Okay, so Let's take these in sequence. Are there any other questions for staff related to these items?
I guess the first one we talked about, this is 1705,
Correct.
and we talked about in your opinion, or what you've witnessed, the water meters failing over historically are because of them freezing?
Most of the time it's freezing, or the town does replace them if they go bad, just from time. And we are actually in the process of replacing numerous meters in town. But when we go out and see a homeowner calls and it's failed, if it hasn't been because it's old, it's been because it's frozen, misuse.
I'm just looking at that first sentence, bolded sentence. The property owner shall take all necessary steps to ensure meters do not freeze. I
Right.
mean, one could read that and say, well, define a necessary step. And could
Make
try
sure the
to
basement's heated.
argue out of it.
Language, and I'll be honest with you, that sentence came straight from John Clapp.
Okay.
He added that. And that's so you educate people that you need to think about this, you need to think about things. You need to make sure that there's some sort of heat source to keep your meter from freezing. And a lot of it falls back on any empty properties, foreclosed properties that they don't pay attention to. And then unfortunately, either your new owner comes in and the meter doesn't work because it's frozen, because they didn't pay attention to it.
Okay.
So is there a motion related to ordinance number 1705 as modified to accept it?
I'll make a motion to accept the ordinance 1705 as modified.
Very good. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Buckman. It's been seconded by Commissioner Sweeney for ordinance number 17-05. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody against? The motion carries 5-0. Very good. Thank you, folks. Moving forward, we turn our attention to ordinance 17-06. Is there a motion to accept the ordinance as modified?
I make a motion to accept ordinance number 1706.
Very good. Is there a second?
Modified.
Sorry. Is there a second for Mr. Sweeney's motion?
I'll second that motion.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Sweeney, seconded by Commissioner Blanchard. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody against? The motion carries 5-0. Thank you. We now turn to ordinance number 17-07. Is there a motion to accept the ordinance as modified?
I make a motion to accept the 1707 ordinance as modified.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you. The motion's been made by Commissioner Sweeney. It's been seconded by Commissioner Buckman. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody against? The motion carries 5-0. Very good. Thank you, folks.
One more.
Yep. Is there a motion to accept policy number P17-03 as presented?
I'll make a motion to accept policy number P1703.
Very good. Is there a second for the motion made by Commissioner Buckman?
I'll second it.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Buckman. It's been seconded by Commissioner Sweeney. Is there any further discussion?
Just one question.
Yes, sir.
We can't enforce a policy, correct? Unlike an ordinance?
Yes, we can.
And the policies are readily available to the public.
And once you get done this, I'll explain what our next step is going to be with these.
Okay.
Do you want clarification now, or do you want to
Or I
wait?
can give you clarification.
How about
now.
clarification now, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah.
Our goal is in the next water bill mailing that goes out on September 30th, as I told you before, we're going to start doing a newsletter included within our water bills. This section is going to be dedicated to your water, what you need to know about your water lines, your sewer lines, your water billing, how to read your bill, and the highlighted sections of the codes and the policies that you as a homeowner, property owner need to know. So that's how we will get the word out.
Mr. Ritz, is that all right by you?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. Okay. Any other questions or discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Anybody against? The motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay,
One more.
thank you, ma'am. I think we have one left, is that correct?
2.
Two more, I'm sorry. All right.
3 more.
Well, we're not there yet,
No.
though. We haven't discussed these.
Oh,
What's wrong?
Okay. Aren't we going to discuss 1708?
Where's 1708?
That's
Where's
the-
1708?
not in there.
That's not my, that's me. That's
That's-
gonna be your planning and zoning section. Don't scare me like that.
These are, yeah, no, these aren't water and sewer. These are zoning related. Okay, so this would be our next agenda item.
Right, it's
Okay.
agenda item number 2. If you look at page 30, Ms. Sipperly made a highlight page before we got into the ordinances.
So we're actually number 2 now.
Do you want to drink?
Okay, so, Mr. Sweeney,
What?
we're okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Ooh, it's too dark, too light.
We had a lot of ordinance.
No, no, fine.
And is there a way to adjust the,
I know how you love these short meetings.
better? It's fine.
So, Ms. Sipperly, we're ready when you are.
Okay, this is consideration of amendments regarding adding place of worship to uses in the B2 General Commercial Zoning District and related code amendments. The background on this was there was a request at a town board meeting a few months back to consider adding church as an allowed use in a B2 General Commercial Zoning District. Town board directed staff to develop a text amendment and confer with the planning commission. Staff conferred with the town attorney on the draft amendments. Planning commission considered the amendments on June 28th, 2017 and July 24th, 2017, and recommended that the board consider the amendments as written and discussed. There is some federal law that applies to treatment of religious entities. The Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act of 2000, which is quite the acronym there. I wouldn't even try to say that. But as I said, treatment of religious entities falls under that federal law, protects individuals, houses of worship, and other religious institutions from discrimination in zoning laws. And some zoning codes have been found to illegally exclude religious assemblies in places where they permit theaters, meeting halls, and other places where large groups of people could assemble for secular purposes. So our code didn't include religious uses in, for instance, our general commercial zone. It did allow them in other places. But this is our 2015 zoning map, which is the result of the comp plan process in 2015. And the ones that are still in color are the zones where church is listed as an allowed use. Other than the big purple section there, which is basically Daughters of Charity, it's the institutional uses. This building is in that purple area. Most of the rest of the places where churches are specifically allowed are in residential zones. And also in the village zone, which is Main Street, basically. So that's where churches are currently allowed. There's not an awful lot of opportunity, just because they're already developed. The red area on this map is our current B2 zone. Again, the purple is the institutional zone. But these are the zoning districts where uses such as theaters, auditorium, conference center are currently allowed, but churches are not specifically allowed in the B2 zone. So the concept in the federal law is that if you can have theaters or auditoriums allowed in a zone that could be used for religious services, you should include your church or place of worship as an allowed use. So, some of the changes that we made were just changing things like the word church to place of worship, but we also didn't have a definition in our actually, this was added to the definitions section. That would be section 1704 020. This is not the B2 zone, but we didn't even have a real definition of church or anything. So I added place of worship means a structure or place in which worship, ceremonies, rituals, and education pertaining to a particular system of beliefs are held. And then in 1732-030B, you have an outline of the summary of changes in your packet.
That's page 30 of 49.
Yes.
Yes.
What page was it?
30 of 49. 30.
And I did this partly so people watching on Channel 99 would have some understanding of what we're going through. But the first one was on that, your summary list is the definition section. As I said, in another section, we just changed the word church to places of worship. And then on 1720-030 in B2, we inserted place of worship in paragraph Q. I did these in a reverse order. Residential zoning districts included churches. They didn't include theaters or that sort of thing. They're a big land use consumer, and most of our residential zones don't have room for such a facility. So we deleted church as a use in the R1, R2, and R3 residential zones, which is basically places like Brookfield and what's the other one? Pembroke. I'm sorry. And also we deleted community centers from the second line, line B in that R1 zone, and made it its own line in E, made it a private community center within a residential subdivision intended to serve that residential community. Because rather than just say a community center, that could be left open to a lot of interpretation. But you could have the desire to have, like, as part of a park or playground area, you could have a residential community center. And recommended that we insert place of worship in the RS zoning, which is our large lot zoning, and currently we don't have that on the map, but that doesn't mean that it could be done in the future through an annexation. And with the larger lots, you might possibly have somebody with a desire to have a place of worship, and you'd have the room to accommodate it. village zone. We deleted the word churches from line B and inserted in another line N, place of worship, theater, and auditorium. These are all sort of, in terms of land use, they're similar amounts of space taken up by building and parking and that sort of thing. And as I said, and there's changes in other sections of the ordinance of the zoning part involving just wording, where church replaced place of worship. And I guess that's it for the PowerPoint. If you want to go through each of these ordinance sections, yeah, you can.
Okay.
Ordinance 1708 is the definition section, where I said inserted definition of place of worship because we didn't have one, and that's. Do you want me to go through all of these and then you go back and vote like you did with the previous one?
You know, actually, I'm going to ask for a little bit of leniency. I need to call a recess for 5 minutes. I need to talk to the town manager for a brief moment. So I'm going to call a recess, and we'll restart in 5 minutes, okay?